Once again. You're having a good Friday. Let's do this. I've got my new blue light glasses on. Been having some eye strain, so I thought I'd give them a try. So we'll see how we do. Back to some immigration. So today's kind of our last day to give you some background info. We're going to start our book on Monday. And so I kind of want to bring together some pieces today. And first thing I really want to start with is the paragraph that you gave me about your ancestors. So I have read them, I think all of them that have been turned in. And it's pretty interesting. I would say in general, it seems like most people had that knew kind of their family stories. People were coming over to the United States for similar reasons, as we saw in Dying to Live, that movie. So what would you say in summary, why, based on that movie that we watched, why do people want to come to the United States? Can I get a quick hand? What was the main idea that was bringing people here? Can I get a hand? Thanks, Gus.
Opportunity and a better life,
Totally.
safer.
Yeah. Opportunity, better life, safer. That's a pretty good summary, right? People talked about jobs. They talked about where they were coming from, not having jobs, not having good paying jobs, poor economies, danger. A lot of Mexico and Central America is pretty poor, and that causes a lot of problems. The poverty, leads to crime, gangs, drugs, drug violence. So, people want out. People want to get away from that. The United States is considered the land of what? What's the O word?
Opportunity.
There it is. Land of opportunity, right? And I think that's what has brought people over for years. You looked at the little pilgrim, the funny cartoon I showed you earlier in the week. The pilgrims were coming for opportunity, for freedom, for religious freedom. So that hasn't really changed. And then reading your stuff, which I'm going to give you a chance to share here in a minute, very similar things for many of your families, right? Looking for better options, looking for more opportunities, fleeing from bad situations, from political situations. So I think that there's a lot of similarities there, minus the whole slave trade thing, which was not a choice that people made, but they were forced to come here. So it's interesting. So I really enjoyed reading them. I always enjoy it. I wish we were in class because I like to have these discussions face to face. They're pretty fun and interesting, but the best I can do is on here. So we're going to put you in a breakout room. And I would love it if you would share a little bit about your story. If there's something personal that you don't want to share, that's fine. But otherwise, I would like to give you just 2 or 3 minutes to say, hey, this is where my family was from. And here's what I know, and see what you know. So I'll jump in on as many conversations as I can get to. And I'm going to put you probably with like 3 or 4 people. So you can get the ideas of where at least a few people have come from. So, all right. So please make sure you unmute yourself. Please make sure if you can turn on your camera, you can, because it's easier to talk to people when you can see their faces. And it's less weird and awkward. So do it if you can. All right, here we go. Ready, set, go. Marlene, are you there? Marlene.
And they flew over the American border. And since my grandparents both immigrated from the Netherlands and Mexico recently, that means I'm a second generation American from Mexico and the Netherlands.
That's pretty cool.
I'll go. My dad's side's from Scotland, and they came over here, I think, 4 generations ago. So, I forget how far I am, but
All right. I feel like I lost a few people. Oh, they're in the waiting room. Okay, let's see what happened. I don't know what happened. All right. So I only got in on like 2 groups because I always get like it's so interesting. I just like don't want to leave. So I got to hear what they say. So I don't know. Does anybody want to share? I know it's like weird and on Zoom in a big group, but if anybody has anything that they
I
want
didn't know
to
what we were doing.
Huh?
I didn't know what we were doing.
Oh, shame. We're talking about our ancestors. Ancestors.
Oh, the assignment?
Correct. Anybody want to share anything?
I said they came from Africa.
Mm-hmm. You know any more details?
They black?
Okay. All right. All right. So, yeah, so it's interesting when we talk about all these groups choosing to come here. Usually the groups that choose to come here all have a lot in common. And then you have the slaves from Africa that are in their own category, right? Because obviously they didn't choose to come here. And so those stories are vastly different. And what I also seem to gather from doing this project for the last couple of years is that, you know, most people that came that way don't have a lot of their history, right? Because there was no history that was kept or that was, you know, very clearly documented because, you know, they were bought and sold. And, you know, I think most people kind of know, okay, like I came from the South, but they don't know too much more than that. So it's interesting. And some people know their shorter term history, like what happened after, you know, the last 50 years or 100 years. But everybody else seems to have pretty interesting, similar type stories. So I don't know. I mean, I'll make a few comments, but does anybody else want to share something? I mean, I always read and hear a lot of good stories. They're interesting. Anybody want to share one? Yeah, this is why I like to do this project.
Yeah, share a story.
No, well, you already shared yours, Caleb. So it's about your ancestors. So we already got yours.
It's too late.
Well, no, didn't you just tell us?
Oh, that was like 2 parts.
Okay, so that's the second part then. Go ahead.
My mom said her great grandmother came from 1891 to US.
Okay. Do you know how or where, like, where'd she come from?
I don't know.
Okay.
Probably somewhere in Africa. I don't know.
Okay. Interesting. Anybody else? Anybody else? Go ahead, Charles.
But she said she came from like a boat.
Makes sense. All right, Caleb, remute yourself. Here goes Charles. Go ahead, Charles.
My grandparents on my dad's side are from the Netherlands, and they came on a boat to Canada, and then they crossed the Canadian and American border to get to America. And my grandparents on my mom's side flew over the American border.
Mm-hmm.
And so because they are my grandparents and they immigrated from another country, I am actually a second generation American, making my parents first generation Americans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else want to share? All right, well, I'm going to share just a few general things that I heard, both between this class and my other class, because I don't know, that's why it's awkward and you're not sharing that much, and I get it because it's Zoom. So here's some stories that I heard that were interesting. I heard somebody talking about they came over from Thailand in that area. They were in a refugee camp, basically because for political reasons. And so they were granted, visas to come kind of seek asylum here. So I hear about those situations. Let's see, we talked about kind of the slaves. We talked about there are a lot of Europeans that came over kind of in the 1800s, early 1900s. There was kind of a big wave of immigration. A lot of you, if you're from Ireland, if you have Irish blood, a lot of people came over during the potato famine. Are you familiar with the potato famine? So, it's what it sounded like. The potatoes, the crops failed for environmental reasons. And so there was mass starvation. So people wanted to get out and, try to make a better life. So that's where a lot of the Irish came from, and a lot of the Catholic religion that's in the United States. Hear a lot about families, also like from Europe, coming over like during and after World War I, after World War II. Again, kind of fleeing, if they were fleeing from the Nazis or fleeing from political situations, or just, again, a better life, better opportunities. And then, of course, you have people from Latin America trying to flee from poverty, from, like I said, violence, instability. I had somebody talking about like their parents actually their mom crossed through the desert, like we saw yesterday, and was pregnant, and, described it as, very just awful, like very hard. And, and then somebody else mentioned, their family doing that. So somebody else mentioned a train. So, a lot of the stories, it's tough getting here. People come for the same reasons, though, generally. So it's interesting. So when you kind of think about that, think about your history, think about why you're here, as we kind of transition now into our book that I want to tell you a little bit about. So here it is. I can't give it to you. It's called The Secret Life of Sonia Rodriguez. And it looks like this, although we've been busy scanning it for you. So you're going to get just PDFs of chapters. But it is, I love this book. I really am not trying to oversell it, but I really think you'll enjoy it. It's easy to read, and it's mostly in English, and it has a lot of culture in it, which is why we're reading it, not a lot of language in it. So there's a little bit of Spanish in it, but mostly like the way they use it, they make it clear what it means. And it's just full of interesting things to learn about Hispanic culture and immigration and discrimination and all of that. So this is what it looks like, and we will officially start it on Monday. I would like to share with you kind of the overview of it. So you do not need to follow me right now to do this yourself. Just look at it with me. I'll screen share. So you can, at some point, not right this second, go and see, we're going to do a book, calendar, and theme. So it's right here, the document that I'm going to share with you. You can absolutely print it on your own time. Right now, I'm just going to show it to you so you don't actually need to go get up and print it or anything right now. So let me just pull it up. I already have it here, so you can kind of get an overview of things and start thinking about, kind of what to expect. Oh, I don't know where it went. All right, let me reopen it. It's gone. All right. All right, now I'm ready. Okay, and I actually shared this with you the other day, but we only went over the beginning. So the other day we talked about kind of the pre-unit here. So here we are on day 4, about ready to actually talk about the book. So I'm just going to kind of read this to you, and you can get the idea of where we're headed, okay? So for the next 4 weeks, we will be reading The Secret Story of Sonia Rodriguez. You will be required to read, it's about 25 pages a night. And like I said, it's pretty easy reading, so don't let that intimidate you. It's not at a super hard level or anything, and the pages are pretty short. You're going to answer questions as you go, and you're going to identify quotes related to the main themes of the novel. So you can see many of these things we have mentioned already, and we will be diving more into them today as well. So we have illegal immigration, expectations of Hispanic women, values of Hispanic families, stereotypes, and discrimination. All right, class time will be given most days to start the reading and the questions. There will be short pop quizzes given randomly over nightly reading, so don't get behind. You're going to receive a list of questions aligned with each chapter on Monday. So it's like 2 to 3 questions a chapter. So it's not like you're doing pages and pages for every chapter. And that's going to be worth 30 points. And then you're going to have a little packet, but it's not really a packet because I can't give it to you. So it's just some papers to keep track of important quotes as you read. And I'll give you an opportunity on Monday to print those or save them to a Google document, however you want to do that. All right, but those are each worth 30 points. Here is the overview of our calendar. All right. Calendar says chapters are due the day they are discussed, which is what's on the calendar. All right, except for chapter 1, because we're doing that together with your teacher. That's me. Okay, so like for instance, on September 16th, you need to have chapters 12 and 13 read. Okay, that's what we are discussing that day. But again, it'll be clear because the night before, I will assign you those chapters. So you will know. But this is kind of our overview. So you can see it basically takes us through the end of the 9 weeks. And we're going to spend some time together Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Before then, you are kind of responsible for your chapters. And I'll tell you about your group presentation because you are going to present on one of these days. You'll notice that some days have 2 chapters and some days have, I don't know, I think there's one day that has like 4 chapters. It's again, they're all about the same number of pages. So I did it by pages, not by chapters, because some chapters are like 2 pages and some are like 10 pages. So that's why they're a little bit irregular. And that'll lead us into our midterm. So this is the day of your midterm. So the midterm will be over this book. And then we'll spend our last 2 days before fall break watching this movie called Under the Same Moon. If you haven't seen it before, it's also fantastic. It's called La Misma Luna in Spanish. Okay, so more point talk. All right, group presentations, 45 points. 25 of it is for your group and 20 is for your individual participation. So you know I always keep track of that. I will continue to keep track of that. So you're going to be in a group of 2 to 3 students. You will have approximately 25 pages, so that's whatever day you're given, on which to present. Okay, here's what your presentations are. 3 things. So you divide this up between the 2 or 3 of you. You're going to do something visual, a collage of symbols which represent the main ideas from your chapters. You can do a PowerPoint, you can do a poster, you can do Google Slides, etc., which will help you summarize the chapters for the class. Then you're going to talk about important quotes from your chapters, which will help you lead a class discussion of your chapters. And then finally, you're going to come up with some sort of game or activity to review the chapters and or important quotes. So that can be like a Jeopardy game, or there are a lot of different ideas and activities. If you think of your other classes or you think of your English class, is a good one to think about when you've read books before. It can be a drawing activity. It can be really anything. And I'll give you a few examples of that again, like these first few days. And then you can come up with something to make it your own. Presentations, they're about 15-20 minutes. Okay, they'll include, and your grade will also include kind of how organized you are. Do you know what you're doing? How's your creativity and your energy level, etc. So basically during a class period, the group presents for about 15 to 20 minutes. Then I present for 10-15 minutes. And then the rest of the time it says class periods will include teacher activity and discussion. Occasionally you will have a pop quiz, and then you'll have time to 10 or 15 minutes to do some reading for the next day. All right. During the in-class reading time, groups presenting on the following 2 days will also be given time in a breakout room to collaborate on your presentation. And finally, you have to be present on your assigned day to get credit for your presentation. So that's kind of the overview of things. And of course, we will kind of be going through that step by step early next week. Questions on overview? Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
Is it a book that we're reading?
Correct.
Oh, it's like a PDF.
Well, yeah, we're going to send it to you. So it looks, I mean, it's a book, but I'll send it to you so that you have it to read at home.
Oh.
Okay.
So You assign the chapters for every day.
Yes.
And
Make sense?
it's like a project at the end.
You'll have a midterm over it at the end. Okay, we'll go through it step by step. Okay, so the last thing I want to do today is give you a chance to kind of start looking at these themes and seeing what you already know about them. So now I guess I actually need you to go to my current lesson. So if you're not there yet, go to it. I'll still share my screen, but you're going to end up typing this out yourself. All right, and you're going to click on the warm-up discussion about themes. It looks like this. I'll wait for you to get there. Are you there? Thumbs up. It's there. It's published. Yes. Okay. All right. So listen, here are the 5 themes that you're going to be looking at in the book. Illegal immigration, expectations of Hispanic women, values of Hispanic families, stereotypes, discrimination toward or among Hispanics. So I would like you to take 5 minutes here to describe what each of the following means in society, kind of in general, and or what it means to you. Okay. Now, I would assume you know something about illegal immigration since we've been talking about it this week. If you don't know much about expectations of Hispanic women, that's okay. You can tell me, I don't know much about expectations of Hispanic women. Maybe you kind of know in general what that expectation is. If not, then you can just tell me that. Hispanic family values. Okay, again, if you're Hispanic, then you probably know a lot. If you don't know, then maybe you have friends, you have family, you've seen things. Okay, jot some things down there. If you don't know very much, then tell me, I don't know very much. Stereotypes, everybody knows about stereotypes. They can be in general. Okay, obviously we're specifically talking about Hispanics, but they can be related to anything. And then discrimination, again, specifically about Hispanics, but obviously in general, you can probably answer that. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to fill those in. You're just going to type your responses, but don't submit it yet, because then I'm going to give you a partner to talk about whether you agree and disagree. Okay? So right now you are typing, and don't submit it, and I'll get us back together in 5. Sound okay?
Hey, Miss Lee,
Mm-hmm.
where do we go to learn about the thing that we don't know?
Just write, if you don't know something, just say, I don't know much about that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So everybody's doing their best. I started your clock just a second ago. So you got a little less than 5 minutes. Okay. I think we're all back. So hopefully get a chance to share, see what you had in common, what you learned, maybe that was different. So make sure you get that submitted to me, like now, today. Hopefully it's more or less done. And we'll call it a week. That sound all right? Okay, make sure you submit that, please, so I can see that you did it. If it's not quite done, I guess you can finish it up in the next few minutes and then get it to me. Take the weekend off, go relax, try not to stare at a computer all day. Hasta martes. Enjoy.
Wait,